Ben, you're up. Hey, Ben, welcome. How's it going?
Hey, Mike, how are you? I'm a restaurant owner. I'm a restaurant owner in Philly, and
Yes, sir.
I have some of our staff who was undocumented, and they've had the vaccine, and they're happy that they've had it, and we're happy that they've been able to get it.
Well, how'd they get it? How do you get a vaccine without a legitimate form of ID, Ben?
They were able to go to the FEMA site here in Philadelphia, where it's all, military people who
right, because I know. I went to the FEMA site in Tampa. I've been through the FEMA process, and they sure don't let you in the door without an ID. How did your workers do it?
They were able to. There was people who were able to help them get in there, and we're glad that they were able to get.
So they what? So they made an exception for them. Is that right? I mean, they must have given them sent them into a different line, go to a tent where you don't have to have an ID. Because again, I've been to that's how I got my vaccine. A FEMA site in Tampa had to have an ID. Ben, I'm just curious. Aren't you a little curious how your employees did it?
Yeah, I'm glad that they were able to, for sure.
You've repeated that 4 times. I think you're a troll. I don't believe you because you don't want to answer my question. How did your employees get a vaccine without?
One staff who was Chinese, and we were able to find somebody who was Chinese and was able to get him in there. And also, there were some other folks who didn't have IDs. And Philadelphia is known for being liberal city, being sanctuary city, and are making opportunities for these people to get back. I'm not a troll. I'll just let you know my opinion.
We remember your mayor doing the happy dance when they got word that they were going to be a sanctuary city. Yeah, we know about Philadelphia's politics. We know all about what you got. What city of brotherly love, right, Ben?
I thought it was kind of misleading when you conflated the voter ID in Georgia, because that's voter suppression, and in this case,
that's what that is. That's voter suppression, huh? I appreciate that you changed the subject. I'm just curious, why do you employ illegal immigrants in your restaurant, Ben?
You compared the two things, talking about IDs being one and the same, but we're talking about two different subjects. I was just making that point. But go ahead with your logic.
We could talk about a lot of subjects. Let's talk about a third subject. Why do you employ illegals, Ben?
A lot of restaurants do, and so do farms. Even Trump supporters, have illegals working on their farms and fisheries and meat packing plants. They're part of this economy, Mike.
Don't you feel sort of an obligation to employ citizens, people who pay their taxes and are American citizens, Ben?
Yeah, we also have citizens that are employees. Yes.
I'll bet you got people in Philadelphia that'd love to work for your restaurant who are legal.
Yeah, there's a certain skill set, that is required, so we can't just, have anybody in there. They have to be a skilled worker.
I can't just hire anybody. The illegals are more. What's that?
At making tortillas, they are. I wonder if you'd be able to.
You can't teach American citizens how to. Aren't there Hispanic American citizens who know how to make tortillas, or even Caucasians that know how to make tortillas? You only can employ illegals to make tortillas for you, Ben?
We're open for anybody. We actually don't discriminate based on immigration status.
Well, no, clearly you don't. I think you're discriminating against American citizens because I think there's American citizens who'd love to work for your restaurant.
Well, you're of the opinion that you want the first of everything. You're the America First guy, right?
I am America First. Are you America Last? How many illegals do you have? What percentage of your staff are illegals, Ben? I'm just curious.
Probably about half.
About half. Wow. And of course, being in Philadelphia, there's no enforcement of that, right? The government doesn't check to see what you're doing and how you're employing half of your staff is illegal immigration.
Right. It's a very difficult situation because it is illegal, federal at the federal level. But I think it's important for the chefs to also start to begin to advocate that we have these people in our restaurants, in our hotels, in university dining halls, in farms, and we have to make a legal way for them to be able to work because they're not going anywhere and they have families here as well. I think
you've not made a legal way. You've just made a way. I mean, they're not legal, but you've made a way. You've given them a job. and you're defending them going off, and they're defending.
Slavery was legal at one point, right? And people have to see the truth of the matter and do the right thing.
No, not everybody's been illegal at one point. I was never illegal. I don't know if you were ever illegal, but Ben, I just can't get over the fact. I wonder do you feel any guilt over people who are American citizens who are desperately trying to find a place to get a vaccine, and you've got illegal immigrants working in your restaurant that got vaccinated without an ID. You don't seem to be able to tell me how they got the ID with the vaccination without an ID. Do you feel bad for the people in Philadelphia who are still trying to get a vaccination and can't, but your workers who are illegals did? Does that make you feel guilty?
I mean, I feel bad that they don't have access to information. I mean, I also know a poor black man who's a recipient of some of the free meals that we produce every day that says he hasn't been able to get a vaccination. He doesn't know how to do it either. So I do feel like there is a lack of information getting out there to all the different communities. I think it's important that everybody gets vaccinated. That's my point.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely. Why don't you have some of those?
Not going to discriminate.
Yeah, why don't you, maybe you could take some of the illegals who work for you, take the poor black people who can't get vaccinated and take them to that same line where they got vaccinated. Maybe the poor black individuals get vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm going to do whatever I can.
Good. Well, that may be a good place to start. Have those illegals that work for you take the people who can't get a vaccination and show them how to get one without an ID. Because there's a lot of people who would be pretty amazed at finding out how to get a vaccination without an ID, like your illegal workers did. Ben, I appreciate the exchange. I think our listeners did too.